Hello Internet, and today's book opinion is going to be The Serpent Secret by, I am so sorry, Sayantani DasGupta. I should have looked up how to say this so that I could say this properly, but I didn't because I'm lazy. And I've never heard her name said before out loud. I've only seen it. I've only seen this name before on the title of this book. I've never said it out loud. I am terribly sorry. I am pretty sure I'm 100% capable of saying your name properly. I simply do not know how to say it, and because language is weird, most of the times you can't sound things out and then them sound the way that they're supposed to sound. Yeah, most of the time you can. It's a really awful conundrum. The point is, this is The Serpent Secret. This is the first book in a series. And this is about a young girl who is a literal Indian princess. So I did like it. It was a middle grade book. It is fairly exciting. So this young girl discovers she is an Indian princess. She's just living her life, and her parents get into trouble, and she's like, well, what just happened? And she discovers that all the stories that her parents told her over the years about her being an actual Indian princess and all these magical lands and everything is actually true. She is an Indian princess, and her parents are just the people who care for her, and parents in a different way. Her biological parents are another story. So she ends up getting wrapped around in this magical world, and she has a princely sidekick. That's how I'm calling him. He's a sidekick. I'm sorry. She's the main character. So she has some princely sidekicks, and she's going to try to figure out how to fix her problems. Mainly how to save her parents, discover who her biological parents are, and also fix a few problems that she caused herself and kind of got her new friends into a bit of trouble. Here, I think I like seeing the magical world. I liked this. She's going off, she's seeing all these different magical creatures, these different legends, that sort of stuff, this different mythology. That is always fun. That is why Percy Jackson was so popular back in the day. That is why Rick Riordan keeps being popular. That's why Rick Riordan Presents is so successful, is because we love these stories that bring in mythology and show us all these weird creatures that have been talked about for generations. So I loved that aspect of it. I also loved in this book the parentage aspect. I always think that's an interesting thing when we bring in mythology and then we have weird mythological parents. I liked how this book dealt with biological parents versus adoptive parents. I liked how it dealt with that conversation. That's always an important conversation for me, because family is more than the blood you're related to. So I liked how whenever somebody would say something like, oh, they're not your real parents, they're not your real parents, your real parents are these other people, these great powerful people, she'd be like, I don't fucking care about those people, they be great, but my parents, the people who raised me at the end of the day, are in trouble and I'm gonna save their lives. So I liked how she was still curious about where she came from and who her biological parents were and how all of this story came together. And she didn't deny those things, but also she wasn't willing to let anyone throw away the fact that she had two awesome people who raised her. Yeah, they were weird and goofy, but that's what parents are. And she wasn't set to replace them despite all this new magic in this world. I also like the weird magic in it because it just, like, there was a lot of weird stuff that happened in this book that you're just like, what? And it was just like, yeah, that's just the way that this magic works. Like, there's this one point where there is like this woman monstress and she eats planets, and the girl's like, wait, you eat planets? And like, it's like, oh yeah, she eats planets. And like she spits up something and they're like, is that a sun? And they're like, oh yeah, it's like a planet, it's a sun. Like, she just kind of devours the whole world. And she's like, well, if she devours everything, and I'm like, how is she here if she's already devoured? And like, how is this a sun if like it came out of her intestines? Like, what is in the pit of her stomach? And everyone's like, girl, don't even worry about it, it's just kind of magic. Like, that's just how it works. I also like, there's just so many funny scenes in this book. Like, there's this one where they basically go through TSA for the magical world, and she's just like struggling with the TSA agents, and I was just like, yeah, that's how it be. That's just how it be sometimes. So I do really like this book. I would love to see where it goes from here. I just loved all the ways that the mythology worked into it and how it made this story. I also liked how our main character had a lot of flaws, and sometimes her flaws were the cause of her own destruction. I love that is how our heroes are becoming nowadays, because like back in the day it was always like, nothing ever, the hero never does anything wrong, just horrible shit happens to the hero. But I am liking this new trend of the heroes are put in pretty bad situations, but sometimes just due to their own ignorance and stupidity cause horrible situations for themselves, and therefore must fix those situations. And I feel like that recalls back on like actual mythology and old mythology, where they were a lot of times the causer of their own problems and their own stories. So I like that that's making itself present once again, instead of it just being the good versus evil, everything happens to the good guy, and like they are never held responsible for any of the bad things in their lives. I like that these characters interact with their own lives and make mistakes in which they have to fix and resolve. So that is a great thing. So I like this book. I'm excited to see what goes on in the future for this book. It's kind of distracted. I read this on audiobook, and the audiobook was really good, so I've never really looked at it before. There are some pictures in this book apparently. I did not read the physical copy. I read it on audiobook. The audiobook was pretty good. I did like the audiobook. So that was great. For like books like this, I love to read the audiobook, especially when it is introducing cultures that I don't know that much about, therefore do not know the pronunciation of most of those things. Thank you, Western education, for never showing me more than European shit, so I only know how to say European shit, but I don't know how to say anybody else's stuff half of the time. So I did read it in an audiobook. I do say the audiobook did a really good job, but the physical copy does have pictures, so maybe if you're better at sounding things out than me, or figuring out what the pronunciation is, then you could just read the physical copy, no issue. But for moi, who cannot say shit until she is told how to say it, the audiobook was great. And then of course I bought a physical copy because it was a good book, so I had to buy a copy for myself. Also, I really like that this main character is related to snakes. I mean, the snakes aren't necessarily a good thing, but I always like characters who have some sort of relation to snakes, because I feel like snakes get a bad rap and deserve better in life, just like foxes and all the other cunning creatures like crows and ravens. All these animals deserve better than to be called bad omens and evil, because they can actually be pretty chill and awesome. So I did like that. I'm excited to see where this goes from here. I know that there is a second book coming out. I don't know how long the series is going to be, but it is a great series. So if you or somebody you know loves mythology, loves this mythological young kids getting involved in mythological adventures, definitely pick this book up. It will be perfect for you or that person that you know who likes those things, because it is about those things. And it is a well-told story. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those buddy buddies down below, and goodbye, Internet.